hello. We're live, we exist. Oh no. Click this just to triple check that everything's good, and then we're gonna click back to here. Or from here. Clicking in the game. Hello.
Oh,
I sent you a knock on Twitch. I am also live.
uh, I don't know if is it working?
I don't see you there, but I see myself in the thingy.
You don't see me?
Not in the thing, but I see me in the thingy.
Can you send me another invite?
Yeah, I have to restart the thing anyway. There you go.
Did it work?
Uh,
We send you an invite. I don't know why it doesn't work if I accept you, but you could accept mine.
Enjoying this session. Okay, and apparently there's also um, better TTV settings now I can look at or something. Solo offline, Valentine. Man, I went through so much work to get this world back. But we're back in it. Alright, shared chat is on. Oh, you do an art fight?
I'm gonna draw Hallie as warm up and then work on cards.
I see. So,
Oh.
welcome back, Abdul. So, art fight has to be pictures, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is digital art slash digitized art, I guess.
But,
The
okay.
visual anyway.
What?
Visual arts.
Yeah.
Although,
What?
huh?
What do you mean, no?
I'm like, is dance to visual arts? Like, yeah.
This is a visual art.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, it's not visual arts.
The
What visual art? I'm trying to find like one
dance.
word that's just like the art, but I'm like, no, it's not digital. It's digitized and it counts as well.
What one word would you use to describe the type of art you can submit in Art Fight, Abdul?
Digital illustration.
What would you say, Abdul?
Digital illustration.
Digital illustration. Okay.
Because you typically can digitize traditional media onto it, but that doesn't count because I don't think of that as digital media. I think of that as traditional media put onto the digital platform.
But like, you say that, and there is a line to be drawn somewhere. Because in my mind, I'm like, okay, does it count then if I write a story only going from like Google Docs, and I don't actually physically write it, but instead I just start digitally? Like, that's still digital art.
Yes, but that at that
What
point,
is this food thing that I'm looking at?
What?
Everyone needs just some like old man's wear.
Looks like a Viking.
What is this thing?
it's Tupac of the Great Decade.
Oh, I see. Oh my god, that's stupid. Snowy would not know what that is. You won't know who Tupac is. Yeah, or he's a famous rapper. Well,
The
formerly living famous rapper.
still very much famous. If you hear,
He's famous. That's why I put the formerly living.
Yeah. Yeah, if you think hip hop, then that would be one of the kind of first 5 names that would come out of hip hop.
Yeah. Very influential artist.
The joke is that for the new the Dragon game, or Stranger Than Heaven, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
They added Tupac's likeness into the game.
They added Tupac as a character into the game. That's like, it's beyond likeness at this point. It just is him as a character. They call well, likeness implies that it's not actually like supposed to be Tupac. It's supposed to be Tupac adjacent. But that's not the case. It is supposed to be Tupac, but Tupac's dead, so they're like assumedly using AI to do his voice.
They're just finding someone who sounds similar.
Yeah.
They have a actual like voice actor trying to you do his voice. Is it meant? I'm pretty sure his name isn't Tupac though, or even.
I thought it was Tupac.
I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be like just literally just likeness and voice. Because I'm pretty sure even Sweet God's character is not literally is.
To be fair, I also thought like Michael Jackson was a character in that. Is he not?
No, not a criminal.
He's Googling this now. Stranger Than Heaven. Oh, I see. Okay, so they do change his name to Amaru.
Yeah, and it's not meant to be Tupac in terms of personality or anything either. So
I
me,
see.
it's just appearance and voice, but even then, it's an impression.
No, hang on, I'm calling horseshit on that part. If the developer straight up said it's his idea, this is the best thing I've heard so far. Apparently, the character is supposed to be the developer's like vision of Tupac if he was making music today. That is likeness still, but man, that's a step closer at least.
Oh, for sure. Like it is. I would say it's very close. It's terrain. onto the end, actually using as much of Tupac himself, but I'd say it's lightness and direction.
Oh my god, they fixed the hitboxes for sure. I shoot so clean.
Yeah, I'll go from that. Yeah, they're using his lightness in that, and regardless of how ethical method is, because it's used with close person of my family and with or being oversaw by Snoop Dogg, who's a close friend, and all that. There is a lot of people, for example, that still use that person, and so regardless of whether it's right or not, that's why there's been lots of memes on making in terms of Tupac being brought back for everything.
I feel like personally, if I had close enough like family and friends who were also endorsing this thing, I'd be okay with it. But like they have to be you have to have at least one relative is the big one. At least one non-shitty relative, I should say. Like
yeah, because
I think the way I would do it is have some like if I really needed to, I would just have a contingency for it in my will and be like, this is the family member I trust to give permission for that thing. If they are not available, even in death I am not available.
because there was a one person that I've been criticized for using a famous dead celebrity who's their relative as
How long do they have to be dead? Or does a famous person have to be dead for it to be like acceptable to use them?
a public domain kind of thing.
I'd say it doesn't matter on the length of time, it matters on the historical importance.
The more important you are, the more okay it is.
In my eyes, yeah. Like, here's the big one. There are video games that exist, and just will always exist, cough cough, Burnout Paradise, that just have an ad saying vote for Obama in them? And I'm like, that'll happen. Like, those will be a thing long after his, like, that game will be a thing long after his death, too. But also, if any new game were to try to, like, put itself in that time frame, and it were to, like, I don't know, I say it's also not about, like, having the person in there where it's like, it's okay to use anyone's likeness if you paint them in, like, a either neutral or favorable light. Favorable to who is, very subjective. But then that's on the developers for trying to like fuck with shit. But I do think, yeah, like historical importance is the big one. Like, not that I could ever see someone having a reason to use her in a game, but like if J.K. Rowling passed away, I'd be like, 2 weeks later, I see a game coming out with her in the likeness or whatever, or like a year later or whatever, so it's still old enough to be like not her, but not new enough to, you know what I mean. I would just be like, okay, that's on the game for them trying to pull their strings. We'll see how they play the character, whether or not people are okay with it. But I don't think you can strictly say whether or not it is okay is the problem. And that it is definitely up to not trial by combat. What's the peer vote or whatever?
Peer review.
Peer review, thank you. It was up to like peer review as to whether or not it was in good faith or in good hands.
Because there is also just the whole there is the whole you can just take their likeness or close enough, or you could just kind of take their likeness and any differences being put down to stylistic choice, and you could just say any similarity to real persons is coincidental.
Yeah, that's the big one I see people doing a lot. Where I'm like, we all know it's yeah, we all know it's not coincidence. If I hear people are going to a Wendy's chain in a book, and I hear that or I read that disclaimer before it, where it's like, oh, any real life chain is just coincidental, or it's like, oh, we didn't mean you as Wendy's, we meant like the in fiction universe Wendy's. I'm just like, you know what you were doing. But that's why I'm like, even that is more so up to peer review than it is up to Wendy's to give the A-OK when like Wendy's is long and dead or whatever.
It's making me think of like the whole just Japanese manga thing where you always see some version of McDonald's.
Yeah.
But then they use it upside down and like a W, and then that's clearly just an upside down M. Or they say everything apart from McDonald's.
There's also Starbucks is another common one too.
Yeah, I think the three most common are McDonald's, Starbucks, and Pepsi.
Yeah.
Not even Coke, because for some reason they make fun of Pepsi more than Coke with those.
I think it's just a name. The name's kind of funny.
It is. I also always love when people do the funny name that's like universally agreed is the Creative Commons version of Pepsi, which is just Beppis.
Beppis, yeah. And then they just go one step further, like Pepsis.
Yeah. Any version of Beppis is like that's
Pepsi upside down, right?
kind of no. It's Pepsi, but the P is a B.
And it's just the first letter upside down.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Well, it's both P's are upside down.
Oh, sorry, yeah, both the P's are upside down.
Well, not both P's.
Well, no, sorry, yeah, no, it'd just be the first one, yeah, because it's Bep.
It's just that the S and I are also swapped.
I guess, yeah. It's such a weird like It is a different spelling for sure at that point.
Yeah,
But it's like,
definitely.
you read it and you're like, this is just Pepsi for the dyslexic.
Essentially.
Excuse me.
Yeah, the themes for Art Bed this year are comedy, mystery, and tragedy.
Yeah. Music came out of it. It's like comedy, tragedy, troll, and then just out of nowhere, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Stone Cold Stunner, fucking mystery comes in.
Well, because so in essence, comedy and tragedy are the two, strictly speaking, are the two only real types of theater if you go back far.
Yes.
Like the whole bit is that comedy used to refer to anything that was not a tragedy with writing. And that's where the two masks come in, is because it's either a comedy or a tragedy, and you don't know what you're going to go watch until you go and watch it in a theater play. But then they just put in they kind of nailed it with having that in between state of what's the stupid meme? Someone described it best with like the legendary birds in Pokemon, where people were like, "Oh, why is Zapdos there? I get fire and ice." And then it's like, oh, it's because it's all about heat. You have ice, the absence of heat, fire, the presence of heat, and then you have energy, the transference of heat. Or the process of heat. And I'm like, that's kind of what they just did with comedy, tragedy, and mystery, huh? Fucking limbo state until you get to watch the end of your play.
Yeah, I guess compared to most other genres, mystery can very much fit in any of
Well, because
in either of the two.
yeah, because mystery just is like the whole point of a story to begin with. Every book asks a question. Otherwise, you wouldn't have plot twists. Or plot.
Yeah.
On the campus, shipwrecked 3 times I've been. Bloody hell, on the seas I've seen. It's time to roll. Drift is not upon my native shore.
Yeah, like at least in terms of classic theater, yeah, mystery would be
It's like the only other option, yeah.
yeah, like I said, at least specifically with classic theater. Certainly has developed a lot more with a lot more like literary narratives or narrative.
Yeah, I'm also like, what else could you put instead of mystery though? Horror, but that's tragedy.
So you say
Surrealism?
Enough. I hear the same thing about how horror, comedy and horror are the same thing. Where
They're
like
not.
it's all about timing and the difference is the punchline.
No, they're not though.
Because there's also a reason why a lot of comedians, such as Jordan Peele, also make great horror skits as well as great horror movies.
Yeah, but like if we're talking about classics too, then it's not really the same.
Okay, I guess I am using a modern kind of take on it.
Like a modern breakdown, yeah. Okay, so then what else would fit? What other genres are there?
I mean, action, like, but then if we're talking about classic theater genres,
Technically, action. The problem is, yes,
it would
action.
be like epic type thing.
Yeah. But then also at the same time, action still plays into either tragedy or comedy. Because you get a definitive answer as to, like, who won the action battle. The idea with mystery is you could leave it on a cliffhanger and just say, fuck you. Put it this way. If I would say action is close to, but not quite the same as mystery, but you could put action things into the mystery category. Like, if we're...
action can go in both, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying action could also slot into the idea of a mystery. Because what about, like, the new Spider-Man movies, the animated ones? What if part 2 ended before we got the reveal that he wasn't sent to the right dimension? And they just said, well, he wasn't sent to his home dimension. And we don't see the fact that, like, other Miles is evil. Then that just ends as a full-on mystery. It's kind of also like saying, like, you could cut a lot of things off early and, yeah, turn them from either action or tragedy into mystery. But they all fall into that mystery category, then, of, like... If you take the original Planet of the Apes, for example, the big reveal was that they were always on Earth. And that it was time travel, not space travel. Well, quote-unquote time travel into the future, whatever. But, like... If that was never revealed, then that just becomes a tragedy. It doesn't really fall into mystery. So action can fall into all three of those categories, but mystery, when cut off at any one point, can't fall into a different category. It can only fall into action, or, comedy or tragedy.
To me, it's
from a
just
classical perspective.
Much like action, mystery is simply a element that can be used for
Yeah.
Either tragedy or comedy. So it doesn't feel like its own genre anyway.
Yeah, but at which point, like, mystery does, because you can have a mystery without tragedy or comedy. You can have a mystery thing that doesn't have good or bad endings, because it's just the entire first bit of setting up a mystery that doesn't have any stakes, but you never get an answer. That's just a pure
But
mystery.
then you're also putting in a more modern take on it, then, aren't you? Because tragedy and
Are you?
were very vague, weren't they? In what we consider good or bad endings.
Okay, but no. Take let's take a actual classical take on it then, and make a pure mystery out of one. What about Phantom of the Opera? It starts as a tragedy, it becomes a comedy, but halfway through, it's pure mystery. Because no one actually dies until the latter half of the act. Or the last act. It's just, why is this thing haunting this place in particular? And it was set up as a mystery, because the whole point of the original play is that it was a fake out of they thought they were going to see a different play, and then they started telling the story of some stupid chandelier. And then people were like, where the fuck is this going? And so about halfway through, you're just stuck in a mystery. Nothing has happened other than you went to go see a play you didn't think you got to see. So it still could have ended on its own merits of a mystery. There was no action in it. I guess there was romance, so you could kind of say comedy. But, like, the actual will they, won't they wasn't answered until someone started dying, at which point it became a tragedy. So it was just in a perpetual state of in-between for, like, an entire act almost.
So it feels more like the tightrope walk between them.
Basically.
Probably I've not watched Phantom of the Operas. All I know is only the reputation of it.
It's okay, so for very, very quick recap, like, this is just the most layman terms version of it I can possibly give at this quick pace. It started with, they were gonna put on a play of, I don't remember the original name, like, the name of the original play. But there was, like, a whole actual play that was supposed to be shown. And Phantom of the Opera starts as if that play is going to be shown. However, it then has this whole thing where it's set up at a specific venue for once. And this venue has a history with a chandelier that is hanging over everyone's head that, like, fell in the middle of a play. So the venue starts talking about the chandelier and its history and how it fell and whatnot. And you get into the Phantom of the Opera of a dude who is crushed by the thing while falling in love with an actress. But then, like, because he was dead, he was essentially haunting the theater, trying to kill those actors so that he could be with her in the afterlife. That's the very dumb layman's term.
Yeah, that's enough as in.
You can get, like, a lot further into, like, it's not actually, like, it might not actually be a ghost, it might be a guy. There's a lot of shit to it.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, you told me enough for me to get the idea, because anymore there'll be either speculation or personal interpretation of it.
Yeah.
And,
well,
or it would...
There are definitive answers, I just don't know them off the top of my head.
Yeah, plus, in the end,
like, I don't remember if he actually is a ghost or not, because that's supposed to be a major plot point again.
Yeah.
And other than him dying at the start, that sets the whole thing in motion. Which, it's not really a tragedy yet, because the story is still about him just in death. It is about the phantom, the ghost of the opera. So, like, until someone else either dies or lives, his whole life is essentially a mystery of will he, won't he? Will he fall in love with her? Will he not? Will he kill her successfully? Will she, like, survive and finish the stage play she was meant to finish? There's a whole thing to it. But that's why I'm like, it is probably the closest you could get to a pure mystery in a classical sense if you just kept it going and left it on a cliffhanger. Which has been done in other media before. I just cannot think of the top, like, off the top of my head.
Yeah, although I'd imagine in terms of less classical, this would still be. This is classic literature, but not classical. Some of the Brontes probably have stories that end up cliffhangers really.
Some of the what?
The Brontes, as in the Bronte sisters.
I have no idea what that is.
Well, not specifically what they're like, so I'm pretty sure that some of the questions that did have fairly solid ending and didn't really end much that is left up to interpretation.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, like, is there actually any? I feel like there's got to be something that's considered a pure mystery.
Jacob Connor.
Yeah? Oh, you know what you could do? I know exactly what it is, Abdul, because it's not mystery. And by classic definition, it's not tragedy. But it is technically old enough to be qualified as a classic to fit within the two. What you could say is a pure mystery is Sherlock Holmes, The Case of Jack the Ripper. Because that was written, and they didn't unmask Jack the Ripper. Because they just played into the fact that it was history. It was never caught.
I guess the fact that he's never caught, that could be considered tragic.
It could be. But, so... It could also, if we're going to go in, again, if we're going to stick to, like, classic definitions, it could then also fall under the purview of comedy instead, because go old enough and comedy literally just meant not everyone dies at the end. That's why it's called Dante's Divine Comedy. Is because it's about Dante, who goes through divine, like, a divine plot and divine, like, beats and interventions and stuff. But it is a comedy because not everyone died at the end. Someone emerged happy. Therefore, not tragedy, comedy all of a sudden. So it's like, the real question is, when does it become no longer comedy and tragedy, but rather just mystery? At which point I'm like, I guess you kind of can't say Jack the Ripper, sure, but you kind of can. Not everyone was saved or walked out unscathed. Like, Sherlock Holmes still didn't catch Jack the Ripper, so he failed, so it's a tragedy, but also not everyone died, and they saved, like, they saved his next victim in the thing by trying to call his bluff and, you know, successfully calling his bluff. So it's considered a comedy because not everyone died.
I guess, but
that's also tragedy, so it's like it really...
Like a second question.
What?
That just leaves another question for me then.
Okay.
Because I've not read the book. So why does, in any of the plots, Sherlock Holmes, through his investigation, does that cause Jack the Ripper to even stop his killings? Because that was
no.
thought on. In the end,
no, because in the end, the big question was actually supposed to be, did his plan even really work?
Yeah,
because it failed. It failed once before. In the book, they consider one of the victims like a failed attempt at stopping Jack the Ripper and calling his bluff. But the final victim doesn't get killed, but also Jack the Ripper just kind of disappears into the night and never kills again.
Okay, so this is the
So it's like was that a person actually a target? Was he not? Like, there is still that mystery too, in that sense.
Okay, so Jack the Ripper within the universe of the book confirmed to have not killed any more after that.
Yes. Whether it's because of that or not, they don't know.
Okay, there's still that sense of mystery. Fair enough. I think my question was more that was there going to be further victims past the ending of the book?
No one knows.
Because if that was the case, then that is still very much tragic in its own right, because it's very futile.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that.
Yes.
But I guess if even that is put into question, then that still retains mystery.
Yeah, so like I'm saying that's probably where you could draw a pretty close line and say that was like a pure mystery, because it's not only the mysteries held within the book, but I would argue that the part of mystery that becomes the third medium is the mystery of if it's supposed to be considered a comedy or a tragedy. The fact that it can be considered both mediums means it can also be considered neither medium, which leaves it a mystery as to like what was the author's intention. Oh, there was another book that did this, actually. There was a book that gave you a definitive answer, but it was up to people's interpretation as to whether the ending was happy or sad. And I remember it going around when I was in like high school, so like 2016 or something. And it made so many people mad because they wanted an answer. And the director was like, no, fuck that. You draw your own conclusion. I don't remember what it was, though. I guess you could also question certain things like Stoma then as... Oh, no, that's more tragedy. Well, no, that's more... Yeah, Soma is definitely tragedy. The TADC version or whatever is definitely comedy.
There are two sources from my memory that feel identify.
Okay.
George Orwell will run a lot of his books, but I'd say specifically Time Machine. Because a lot of them feel a lot of them are very dystopian. And I feel like that's a thing with dystopia itself as well, is where you cannot tell if the ending itself is happy or not, because there's always a bittersweet feeling to it. Or at least there is still a ton of business that I feel like would take away from any happy comedy ending, comedic aspect. But Time Machine specifically, because in the end, you do see what happens to humanity, but it is left up to interpretation on whether knowledge of that led to any change to prevent such things. And secondly would be Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, okay, I can see Handmaid's Tale.
Because in the end, it was a very small passive protagonist view of it, and she may have escaped the regime, or she may have immediately escaped the vicinity of the regime, but it was not even explained what happened to her afterwards.
Yeah.
And even in the postscript, where it was the people in the future trying to play historian and try to figure out what happened in the past, it was still all left to mystery, and we don't know. Everything is still up to interpretation. So I think that would be also a really good modern case of mystery that does comedy.
You know what I would say is the perfect modern case of mystery, actually, because we don't have all the facts, but we have enough to like sway two different types of people into believing one side or the other. I just read this book. What's the name of the ship though? Fuck. Hang on. Once I start boarding, I'll get the name of the book. It's the name of a ship.
Oh, the one that you were reading?
Yeah.
Moby Dick.
No. Also, Moby Dick was the whale, not a...
The whale. I said shit.
Yeah. Hang on, I'll find it.
You can hear Mike shuffling around.
Yo, I'm looking. You know, I'm really mad. I found the book, but right before I found it, I realized what the name was. It's called The Wager.
The ship is called the Wager.
Yeah, so is the book. So, this book is a modern day take of... There was a ship that had basically been lost at sea for like almost a decade or something. I can't remember the exact timeline. But it was like, it was several years at least, or whatever. Right? So the ship was lost at sea. People thought they were dead, and then suddenly 3 people show up on shore. About a week later or so, 3 more people show up on shore. And start claiming, or 2 more people show up on shore. And start claiming that the other 3 are like mutineers. And that the tragedy of the wager was all their fault. So the book goes through and using the like journals and logs and stuff of the different sailors, tries its absolute best to give an account of what people think happened from an unbiased perspective. I say try its best because there is a, like, when one side has more info than the other, there is inherently a bias to it. That being said, the story went as such. Wager was a ship that was trying to steal money from like a Spanish galleon with a fleet, but got separated from the fleet during a storm. At some point, it then washed up on shore in like a random remote island. Not back home, just some random remote island. From the time when it kind of got lost from the rest of them to the time where it was like washed up on a random island or whatever, it turns out there was a brand new captain who was like a first-time captain manning the ship and its crew and whatnot, that people are saying were the ones who kind of, he was supposed to be at fault for letting it get that wrecked because he made some bad calls. And he did make some bad calls. Whether or not it was the cause of the wreck is a little impossible to say, because he makes it sound like he tried his best. And the rest of the crew makes it sound like he's to blame, which, if the ship is wrecked and your captain is like the person you blame for everything anyway, that's gonna happen. So the real mutiny, quote-unquote mutiny, comes into play when it is revealed that the captain had willingly shot an unarmed civilian. Or not civilian, technically civilian by trade because they didn't have the whole like rank and file system that we have in our ships today set up.
Everyone's a civilian.
Well, yes and no, because they did have like actual like English guardsmen. So they had people who like belonged to the Navy on the ship, but because of how like terrible the ship started off with in the first place, the boat had like some very last minute people starting to work with it who were all just considered civilians. Like they were the lowest of the low, they're there to do their job, that's it. Get them working, who cares? Some people were straight up like they wanted to go to jail rather than work on this ship, and they were still caught and be like, no, you're working on the ship now. Go with them. If you don't listen, your body's going out to sea, and you're not coming back home. Good luck. But the mutiny essentially was on an island, which cannot be considered the captain's purview per se. It can and can't. It's really complicated, because there was no laws around it at the time. So, half of the argument is the captain doesn't have, like, full authority anymore, but rather the navymen should have authority. The other part of the argument is that the captain should have authority because it's his ship that was shipwrecked, and it's still his job to get his ship, like, scavenged and up and running in any way, shape, or form to get them back home. So in the middle of all this, there is like a whole lot of other things that are going on, by the way, Abdul. Like, people are being fed lies. There's like, they're starving, obviously. They're thirsty, they're hungry, they're like suffering. And at one point, a dude is led to believe that his and only his rations of the alcohol that they have been scavenging is being cut off. In a fit of rage, he demands to go talk to the captain. The captain's guards are making a bit of a fuss about it and saying, no, you can't do that. Captain said he didn't want to be disturbed. We can't let you, like, talk to him. He's still upset he doesn't have his alcohol. So he's storming, like, up to the guards, relentless, and everyone's making a bit of a commotion. In this commotion, the captain comes out, looks at the man with no gun in his hand, and shoots him on the spot. As of that point, people who belonged to the English Navy and not necessarily, or the English, like, military or Navy or whatever you want to call it, not necessarily the captain or the civilians, decide to put in play a full and formal mutiny. These motherfuckers wrote a, like, 12-page document. And everyone signed it, saying, we are going to mutiny this man, and we are going to make it back home where he can be tried for his crimes. Because shooting an unarmed civilian is a crime. And you should not be a capable leader after this. When they went to go make the attempt back home, however, it was relayed to two people who were very, like, iffy on the matter of going home and mutinying the captain, that the captain wasn't actually coming along and that he was being left behind. Because the ship was in worse aware than it could have been had they just gone with, like, these strict actual survivors. Like, their argument, the people who were leaving him behind argued that if he didn't get left behind, the ship wouldn't have made it back home safely. And transporting a criminal wasn't, like, a feasible option, and therefore they should have prioritized the remaining crew and civilians. The only unanimously agreed upon facts in this entire case are that they were like, struck ashore. What they did was technically considered a mutiny by pure technicality, and that the captain did previously commit a crime by murdering an unarmed civilian. Those are the only three facts you have. When they got home, however, and there was like a trial put on, the trial wasn't for whether or not he committed a mutiny. The trial was for whether or not the crew believed that it was his fault they were shipwrecked. That's it. Everyone agreed that it could not be proven it was his fault they were shipwrecked, and that the weather and storms and everything were just that severely bad that it could have happened regardless. The mutiny trial never actually happened. There was no judge, there was no jury. By today's case, you could just consider this a mystery. It is not a tragedy.
It's not a tragedy.
Because not everyone died. In fact,
that means everyone has to die?
In fact, the captain and the mutineers both made it back home safely in order to enact a fair trial. Therefore, that could be considered a comedy. Because by those old terms, it's a story in which not everyone died. And some of the protagonists made it out unharmed. Well, not unharmed, but like, you know what I mean. They made it out alive. So by that play, it's a comedy. But at the same time, was there justice to be had that then went unanswered? Did a criminal go free? Could that part be considered the actual, like, severe tragedy to it all, where it's not a happy ending? And that's what's supposed to make a tragedy? There's no real say because there was no court case to it. I'm remembering that this is the book I was referring to. Like, it is up to the reader's interpretation as to whether or not this is a happy or sad ending. On the one hand, a criminal could have gone free. On the other hand, another criminal could have gone free. On the other hand, everyone made it home and was alive, and lived to tell the tale. Is this, well, not quote-unquote everybody, but, like, you know what I mean. Every quote-unquote protagonist, everyone who wrote a journal made it home alive, surprisingly. Actually, I think one person who wrote a journal died. And that's why it was supposed to be a 4-on-3 for captain's side, but one of them died trying to get the captain home.
The commonality between that and what I noticed in Handmaid's Tale is that a not easy, but a very effective way to make a true mystery is to have the perspective shift.
Oh yeah.
To a unaffected or third party that only aim to try and figure out what happened, to pick up the mysteries that happen of the main event. The book only to have them
not only to have them like bow out at some point in the story.
Yeah, I'd say that's the effective way to make it. Obviously there is a lot more
to it, a lot of nuance obviously that you could go into. But, like, I would argue that that is also a form of mystery, of, like, you can kind of call it both or neither of a comedy or tragedy. By, like, the different definitions that started to make up what now become the different genres, obviously. But if that's the case and the waters are that muddied, is it really either anymore? Or is it like how much of Theseus' ship have we rebuilt trying to figure out if this is a mystery? You know?
Yeah. And speaking of it, well, not speaking of, but rather, it makes me think that, yeah, I said it in an effective way, but it still takes a lot of greasework to make it a satisfying ending. Because in the end, if you have to admit that there's just mysteries, you can't.
I was so mad at that, by the way. I hated, like, personally, from the perspective of reading that book that much, I did get really mad at the ending for being like, what do you mean they just didn't go to trial? Who's the dumbass that did that? Which obviously it was the fact that they were like it was England and Spain were in a war at the time. So, you know, it was kind of in their best interest, like in England's best interest to be like, we don't know if there was a mutiny or not. We don't really care. Fuck off. You're adults. Argue. Do what you want. Write your books. We don't give a fuck. But I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, God damn it, give him a trial. Who is at fault here? Who does historical law side with in this case? Because it is a really good case in point of historical law of like, they were at sea, or they were at sea at first, right? Like only the people on the ship were involved in the mutiny. Therefore, it could be argued that it was up to like that it was a mutiny and that it was like a blatant act against the captain, and the mutineers should be hanged and tried and hanged. On the other hand, they are no longer on land. Or on sea, sorry. And this is at a point in history when those laws were not clearly, like, set and divided yet. Therefore, it might not have technically been a mutiny, and might have been a just cause for people to arrest, and then, in essence, leave behind a criminal who, like, was a known murderer. Because regardless of, like, every other fact, too, that is still a pure murder. That man murdered someone. He had intent. It was not a, like, I guess it could be argued that it's manslaughter and not murder, because it's heat of the moment sort of shit. But, like, what did you say, Snowy? Did it? Yeah, I don't know if it existed in, like, 1780 or whatever. But that just brings into it the other question, then, of, like, if it's manslaughter, what happens? Does that change the rules of his ruling? Does that mean, like, does it going from murder to manslaughter mean it wouldn't have been a mutiny instead? Or that it would have been a, like, there are so many questions left unanswered at that book that I just genuinely got mad at the law. For being like, how fucking dare you sweep this shit under the rug? I want answers, damn it.
Similarly, one that could. At this point, I feel like I'm just throwing in a lot of open-ended endings into mystery.
But that, I feel like that's kind of what makes up a mystery, is an open ending.
Yeah, but like, yeah, like a good mystery has an open ending, or a strong example of a mystery has an open ending, but not every open ending makes a mystery, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Because now I'm just thinking of something
Well,
like
okay, here.
Lord of Flies.
I can give you an actual description then of what I believe would be the best possible definition of a classical mystery. Like, we have classical comedy, we have classical tragedy. I think the best possible definition you could have for mystery is a open ending in which you cannot define the story as either medium. You can argue it as either medium, but you cannot strictly define it as either medium for it to be a mystery. When you
could argue which side of the spectrum it leans towards.
Yes, but you cannot definitively answer what side of the spectrum it's on. Again, you can speculate, and you can argue, but you cannot answer. You cannot prove. Yeah, basically, it's a he said, she said. It is the essence of a mystery. When you do bring the smoothie over, can you bring a spoon, please? Thank you. Well, I think that just even further proves the point of that's a mystery then, Abdul. That's the literal medium between the two, is the medium between the two. It can't be a comedy, can't be a tragedy. Like, it can't be proven comedy or tragedy, but it can be seen as either. Therefore, it's just a mystery. It's he said, she said. Like, from my perspective, I would argue that the idea of, like, the wager is, strictly speaking, a classical comedy in that sense of not everyone died, but like, you know, it's not pure tragedy. Not everyone died. Some protagonists lived. Kind of happy ending. But from another perspective, you could be on the air of it doesn't matter whether they lived or died. It matters that the question was answered. At that point, it would be a tragedy because the question was never answered.
Because at that point, you're not asking for an ending, you're asking for a resolution.
Exactly. But if you can't get either, and can't definitively prove that either has happened, it is just a mystery at that point. That's my take on on like how a middleman mystery essentially would be defined.
So in a way, I'd say like follows your line logic, but my wording of the definition would be yeah, just the lack of a resolution. So let's say that differs from an ending in a sense where
yes,
most the lack of an answer.
Yeah.
Anyway, that just means that a mystery simply has a great amount of agency on the reader's part to try and interpret the words then.
Yeah, again, it's just an open ending.
It's which is weird because again, compared to a comedy tragedy.
Oh my god! I know which book I was originally thinking of. I was thinking of the book Awaken Online. It is pure reader speculation if that thing has a happy or sad ending. In fact, in that case, it's actually kind of different from what you were thinking then, Abdul, in that it's still a mystery of a different kind, but it has a resolution. Because, so essentially, Awaken Online is the story of a, like, bullied kid who finds his place in, like, a VR MMO. Right? Where he grows to be happy in this VR MMO. The problem is, in said VR MMO, he is widely considered the villain. But he wins at the very end of the story. He beats the MMO's perspective of a hero. See, Clair Obscur is a mystery.
I mean,
well, no, I can't say it's mystery, actually, but I can't say why. Like, technically, but also it has a definitive ending. It's just, it has multiple definitive endings. Like, that's like asking, is a choose-your-own-adventure book also considered media? Like, yeah, no, you're right. Okay, hang on. On that case, I will speak. Whoa. Hearing fireworks go off.
Someone's throwing crackers.
Yeah, I can. I was gonna say, I can hear fireworks going off. No, I will take your case, Snowy. I will say that Claire Obscura, yeah, is in essence a mystery. Technically speaking, if you really wanted to get into it, it's more leaning on the side of tragedy for reasons I won't explain.
Oh yeah, I feel like back to the previous one. Before Claire's go.
Oh, Awaken Online. Okay, yeah. So a man who is playing as a villain,
Bro,
but is considered what?
you parked the giant shelf on top of both of my coasters. Why?
Oh, I didn't mean to.
I see. I was like, oh, let me put my tea on one of my coasters. One of them is like halfway. The shelf is like half of one, on the tail of the other, and it was like, oh.
Man, I made sure it was clear last time, so I don't know. Something got moved. I don't know then. $50 planks, 50 timber, 50 iron. I have to go home and get the timber and iron, it looks like. But yeah, okay, so going back to the old one then, Abdul. The Awaken Online. A man who is seen as like a tragic outcast. Like if you were to go rags to riches story, think of that. But then the rags to riches is technically him becoming a villain to the populace, but not in a way that strictly ruins a majority of people's lives. Weirdly saying he does kind of arguably ruin one person's life. But it's also arguable that that man ruined his own life. By the same metric.
It's just that at this point, I feel like we're, despite, as you said, despite that it has a resolution, I feel like we're.
It does have a resolution. He beats the good guy, technically, from the MMO's perspective. But from the non-MMO part of the perspective, the good guy beats the bad guy. The rules are inherently swapped inside of the game. And it's the quote unquote villain's life that like gets ruined from in the real world from trying to ruin the hero's life and failing. But then, yeah, that case question is just which ending is like are you supposed to take when defining the old genre? Then
Again, like my question is, what would that really be counting towards classic mystery then? Because again, that's very modern kind of book with a that goes by much more modern metrics.
I'm questioning, could it be considered a classic mystery?
I would not believe so.
No? Well, because if everything falls under one of the three of classic mystery, classic comedy, classic tragedy,
I don't believe everything does.
Everything does.
Saying...
Well, everything is supposed to fall under the idea of classic comedy or tragedy. So if you have to make a middle ground to those old ones, where does that middle ground start and stop? Is what I'm like getting at.
because from the sound of that book itself, feels more to in
in classical sense.
yes, also in the sense of like absurdity, you know, that just it flips the idea of hero and villain on its head. The fact that one can be considered hero and villain in the traditional sense, but the roles are flipped depending on context. That doesn't strictly make mystery in itself. To me, that's simply
Okay, but then hear me out.
means absurd kind of comedy.
Hear me out. Let me bring into point an earlier one that we could consider a classic mystery that has the same question at first. Phantom of the Opera, the ghost is considered both a hero and a villain because it is tragic that he died and that all he wants is love.
Yes, but then that puts into a similar kind of questions of anti-heroes, anti-villains, ironic heroes, flawed ones,
But
kinda like
okay, but then yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that's what the question kind of is at this moment of like, I guess that's the real one. Is an anti-hero winning part of a comedy or tragedy, or does it then define the medium of mystery? Like, yeah, you can't strictly say that for certain ones. Like,
I would say it like it would more lead into comedy than anything. Like if I had to put
okay,
something on it, because it's still it's an anti-hero that goes by more or non-conventional methods, but in the end it leads to um
like a full-out happy ending.
whether it be a mix or like a balance of it, an overall happy ending or overall a improvement in situation.
Okay. These are the kind of deep thought questions you can expect when Snowy is drawing art. Oh, I have a question for you, Snowy. I know how to get your opinion on this. If um if Project Hail Mary ended before he had shown his decision on whether or not he was going back to save Rocky. Like it cuts the moment he realizes he has to make the choice and it just ends. Where would you put it? What?
I'm gone.
What are you done? Why are you gone?
This sounds like 90% of media you wanted to stick in mystery at this point.
90% of what?
Media you wanted to stick in like mystery.
Well,
Yeah, just like at this point, it feels like we're getting to the point where there are a lot of things that have evidence is of both, which I feel like is the point of modern modern literature now, where they hold
but it's
many
not.
overlapping.
I know, but I'm saying it's not the point of it being both. I am on the side of it's the point of it being neither is like neither is provable makes a mystery. Which is why I asked her the Project Hail Mary questions. I'm like, can you prove either or?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of examples is just that can definitely be on one camp. It's just that they have so much evidence of the other side as well that you can argue mystery, you can never definitively say mystery because it is definitely one of the others.
But the question is like what what content could you then put as pure mystery? That's what I'm trying to figure out. What story is there that could define that middle genre? At which case, it's kind of, that's why I'm like, I think it's a lot of media kind of could go into it, because the whole point of it is that it's just media without an end. Like Lost. Only because they didn't actually finish the show.
I feel like it's not just like a lack of an end. I'd say it's also the tone. Tone also plays a lot, because again, you can have a open-ended you can have an open ending, but it depends on the idea of, does the ending leave a positive impact on the also cast. Because it could still be open ending, but if on where things go, you could still argue that like the majority of protagonists or people can end up for the better out of it, you know, or that there may be like a more optimistic tone at the end.
I getcha.
Because there's no guarantee of a hopeful end or an optimistic tone. Would you argue that then it would be a mystery? No.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was arguing. Where I'm like, it's just, I don't know which piece of content I could consider a indefinitive answer as to whether it's comedy or tragedy. The totality of human life, is it a comedy or tragedy?
At a point, it feels like we
It's-
could just end the argument with true mystery is dumb. It's just like you can go
Yeah.
into one or two bands, one or two camps, and it's just like the line, or it could be like a 51-49 split, you know?
No, I would agree with that initial statement. More of like it's dumb because it can go into either camp, but goes in. It can go into either, but goes into neither.
Hmm. Like I'm just saying that you can also just argue that any media can go into either camp. It's just that the mix or the ratio is just can be perceived as even, almost, where it's so almost even, but not quite, you know.
Yeah, I get you.
Like whether there's a 0.1 or a 0.01% that brings towards comedy, it may just simply be a comedy, even though it toes the line. And again, because literacy or literature and media has evolved ever since classical times, we have simply explored many different things a lot ever since.
Nothing is
And
original
used
anymore.
to
Everything's
reach different.
everything's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy.
Everything's derivative, but due to influence and nurture, we also have just had different reasons to make media. All can be for entertainment, but there are different questions that can be asked, because the world itself can also be a different place than before.
Yeah. Snowy, what did you actually do for our fight? I didn't even see it.
I did Hallie Google.
Uh-huh. Can you show it off?
No.
Huh? Trying to figure out if your stream froze or not.
Did it?
I don't know.
Just drag the PNG on the screen. It's showing for me.
Well, I can see, like, something happening on the bottom of the screen, but I can't see the new image. Your, like, 8-bit alpha channel text or whatever is changing every so often.
Easy now. Bro, just get over here at this point, man.
Yeah, I'm just trying not to die.
Actually, I'm gonna stream this thing like this. I'm just showing it on the Discord. Oh, I'm not watching it.
Why does Hallie have a weird tongue, though?
Huh?
Why does Hallie have a weird tongue?
Well, in the reference, there's 3 points. I was just like, I can do the breath with 1.
Three-tongued lip.
What tongue does Sally have?
There's like 3. They're pretty like skinny long.
Skinny long. I assume that is very likely kind of avian kind of tongue anyway. Because both tongues are way big on it, aren't they?
Avian tongue on a wolf.
I do like
Wolfbird.
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 I assumed it was their song, but the thing is with lycanthropes, they have more flat, large tongue.
Oh, you know what I can talk with you about, Snowy? Because I'm like, I don't know, I'm weirded out by it, and I'm gonna call you out for this. Why do you keep thinking I am like scared of furries?
What?
Well, I don't know. You're the one that was so like mid about going to Anthem combat. I was just like, okay, he doesn't enjoy the furries or something. I don't know.
You said you were gonna go with Hallie, so I was like, okay, sure. And you're like, oh, would you want to go? And I'm like, you're going with Hallie.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, oh, he doesn't really want to go because he could be like, oh, I want to go anyway.
But you said I don't. Okay? You started that whole thing about Anthrocon with the like. Yeah, I'm still going, but you're not coming because I don't want to buy the extra ticket. And I was like, okay. And then you kept being like, would you want to go to Anthrocon? And I'm like, does she want me to go to Anthrocon? Like, I'm on the fence, but I don't really care either way. You can go have your fun weekend with.
It's the I don't care either way. So you're just like,
because I'm trying to like let you make your own decision without me influencing your wallet.
People who are just like, if you want to.
Yeah, it's the two people if you want to. But here's the thing, Adil. When she started talking about it, she was like, I think you'd be fine at Anthrocon. Specifically, you'd be fine. And I'm like, what do you mean by be fine?
Well, you're the one who thinks that I'm weird for having the fish head.
You are weird for having the fish head.
Really?
Why does that
Yeah,
influence?
To be fair, that fish head is different from an anthro suit in any case.
It is very different from a furry suit.
It is like.
What would I be less weird if I got a fursuit?
It's not weird to begin with. It's weird that you think I think it's weird. The fish and Anthrocon as a furry convention are not unilaterally decided together. It is not, I think fish is weird, therefore all of Anthrocon is a really weird place to be.
So why is the fish weird?
Because it's a weird type of fursuit. It's different.
No, not really. Because, like you say, Anthrocon, but Anthro in general is so vast where literally furry skin is. Why do you are fish still stupid?
No. Okay, that I can understand. It is the fact that she is like, the head just doesn't look like a normal fursuit head. So it's a weird, like you've seen it. It is a weird head. Period. Point blank.
Okay, the reason I say it's weird is purely because it feels less traditional Anthro or a fursuit kind of thing, and it feels more like the kind of mascot that a mangaka would have when they want to draw themselves, and they would just draw like a human with a gorilla face or like a fish head or something, just to have something there.
Okay.
It feels more like that rather than a traditional version, so I'd say it's relatively weird, but I think it is hilarious, and so I give full props to it.
But okay, why is me saying I agree? I think the fish head is weird. Somehow you like the exact same thing as saying all of Anthrocon is weird. That's what I'm hung up on. Is the fact she makes it sound like I am like scared of. Well, sorry. To start, she made it sound like I was scared of furries, and then she made it sound like I don't like them, and I was like, I don't know what you want. I don't care. People can be furries without me having a strict opinion on them.
You think and so
I think what is weird?
you think a mask hat is weird, and I can see
I think a mask or a hat is weird. What?
a mask, a fish hat.
I'm saying hers is weird. Not all of them are. She showed me a cool swordfish one, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, you're weird. I'm not. Why do you take this like I'm shattering your world right now?
Yeah, it feels like you're just hypercritical of her. It feels like you just don't like all the effort she puts into her.
No, I love the effort. Why is weird inherently bad? What did you say, Snowy?
Society.
Oh, okay, I'll stop.
Okay, listen, Heath Ledger Joker weird and your fish head weird are not the same weird to try to compare.
That is true.
That's like you went to the wrong comparison for weirds there for a moment. Yes,
like,
Heath Ledger Joker is a weird bad. It's a bad weird. That's a very bad weird. But your fish head is not the same as saying we live in a society. That's not the same thing.
We live in a society like at a moment's notice can drag your head through a table into a pencil kind of thing. That is like Snow. You by nature are a weird person. but that it's in the kind of and amusing, you are a eccentric kind of way. That's different.
I think the problem is that he never has any other adjective to describe the head except for weird. He has only used the singular word, so I'm like, how am I supposed to take this?
Also, you just use the weird very universally that you can't help.
No, it's not okay. It's not universally. It's the fact that when it comes to the fish head specifically, I've only answered weird, and it's because I don't have any emotions on it other than it's weird.
You can at least give a
You're not helping.
I know I'm not helping. I am saying
you can give a direction of weird because again, like I said, it's in the music kind of weird.
it is okay.
Say that, but then it's
Fine.
No,
No, hang on. Fine. You know what? I'm gonna shut this whole thing up then. Snowy, your fish head is like fucking what's his name? Makoto from Raincode.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Kagasumi. Kagatsuchi. Kagasuchi.
Kage sushi?
Yeah, it's Kagatsuchi.
Oh yeah, that,
Yeah. The best bit I have ever done on stream. It is that weird. There you go. Definitive answer for how to describe it. It is funny weird. But again, I think that also still doesn't play into my point, Abdul, of like, just because I have one set emotion on her fish head doesn't mean I have the same set emotion on all of furries ever.
Yes, I know. I was talking with you a good thing.
Like,
but I'm saying I see where it's coming from. If you use weird very universally.
But I don't use weird universally is the problem.
But if you only have weird to be said, because you definitely had more to say about the fish head dead than just weird.
But she's shown me other fursuits in history before Anthrocon, and I've said they're cool. Or they're interesting. Or that's a really well-crafted fursuit. It's pretty good. Because I can admit that, yeah, I can admire good craftsmanship. Why does that mean I'm gonna be scared of the man in a wolf costume?
Yes, no, you get the point. Like, I can't defend that one.
And I think the reason I'm using the word fear is I have to go and recheck the messages on what it was exactly that she said. No, I am almost 100% sure. I'm like 90% sure that at some point in the past you said, I don't think you'd be afraid of Anthrocon. And I was like, why would I be afraid of it? What is this? Where is this emotion coming from? Once I am not running around looking for hardwood, I will find the exact wording that made me think of fear. But rest assured, my brain is at least convinced that there has to be a reason fear was one of the ones that came into brain. And I know the more recent one that I was like weirded out by was her saying you would do fine at Anthrocon. Which might have honestly been what led to the initial fear thing too, actually, is because I'm like, what does do fine mean? Because she
having an enjoyable time as you do at other conventions.
But I don't think I ever denied that. I just said I don't really care about going to Anthrocon if you don't want to buy me the ticket.
Also, I just know. I also feel like there's a difference between being fine and doing fine.
See, okay, yeah, that's the other one. Is being fine is I'm like, I could understand if she said you'd be fine. If she said you do fine at Anthrocon, I'm like, what does that mean? Where does do this?
There's a difference in that one. I can say that.
I don't know either.
I had to sleep on a bus for 8 hours, and then I sent that message.
That's true. I can give you in that you were not in the clearest state of mind, but I'm just like, man, you did not have the best wordings when it came to how I would fare at Anthrocon.
Like you'd be fine is like you will not have any negative feelings or negative experience being there. You do fine is like you're gonna actively be in a photo of your own and be very active in it.
Well, he does have to not quite perform, but there would still be like customer service job.
What's the difference of customer service to a dude? Okay, no, you know what? I will give you that there was one moment, only a single moment, that I think may have actually influenced this more because we've both watched the video together and talked about it. In that, I think you may have also been thinking back to how I was, I watched that one video on, not DashCon, what was the furry convention that went so horribly wrong?
Happened at it?
Drug deals, people, like, wearing full diapers, the pool had towels shoved in it. Oh yeah, this was, like, the absolute worst con that had ever gone down for furries. I'm trying to remember the name. The terrible furry convention. Rainforest. That's the name of it. I know you probably don't remember when we watched that, because we watched that, like, when we first met. Yeah. It was one of those ones that it's like, it was a absolute purebred disaster, and I do remember talking about being weirded out by the thought of a furry in a full diaper, like, trying to buy your shit. Like, that, yeah, that's weird, but also, I feel like I wouldn't consider that to be the average furry. That's the weirdo that should be kicked out.
I feel like that's less your issue on furry than more like your issue with like I guess infantilism or that kind of thing.
Abnormalism, I guess you could say.
As it's specifically infantilism, because I think that's the kind of player fetish where infantilism I've heard is also used as some kind of therapy. But either way, mostly in terms of fetish, yeah, acting as a child or defense-wise, trying to trust this one.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there was like bad translations about like thinking ill of the people who, you know, were caught doing disgusting shit at Rainforest versus thinking ill of this random furry convention.
Or maybe like you have an issue with one person on, like I said, the diaper part, because they're also very different places between as well. Like that could also be a problem.
Well, yeah, I don't think it would be because of the diaper part of like the one specific furry. I think it's more so the fact that there was an entire convention that was so shut down that they tried to make another one like last year, and it was so bad and ill-advised that hotels across northern US and all of Canada were just like, the moment they heard what happened at the last one, they were like, no, we're not hosting you. Because that, I'm like, yeah, that's bad. You have to be pretty bad for a con to go that horribly wrong. And so it could have been the conflated thought that I was thinking all furry conventions were like that furry convention. Huh? Uh-huh. It's okay. I am just making conversation.
All in all, it's not a thing of you. It's just to clarify that. I guess if you were to invite him, he would be happy to join you guys if possible, and that it's not an up to you moment. You guys would both be happy if the other actually joined you to a marathon.
Well, I don't know that I'd say that. Like, my opinion isn't of going to the convention in any capacity. My opinion on the con as a whole was really kind of just if she doesn't want to pay for me to go, I do not care because I can always stay home and relax for a weekend. Nothing lost, nothing gained. Doesn't matter either way. It was a moot weekend. I could have stayed home, I could have gone with. Nothing changed on either end. If I had gone, I feel like I would have just as happy of a weekend as I did staying home.
Sometimes get to chill. That's fun.
Yeah. I guess in theory you could technically argue that one would be better because I'd be with her, but like
that was my point, yes.
I see. Well, my brain is not like wired like that where I'm like I don't see a single weekend away from a person as me enjoying their company any more or less.
No, that is fine. Like
I will still enjoy her company till the end of my days because I love her.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I'm implying either otherwise. Like everyone does deserve to have sometimes their own presence or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And that does not detract from their patience with other people. I'm just saying that regardless of whether you enjoy book or not, if you were invited, you'd be happy to take up the offer.
That's the problem is I don't know when she's inviting me or not.
Because again, this all goes down to the issue of if it's up to you.
Yeah, exactly. When someone says it's up to me, I feel like it's not actually up to me and that they have an answer in mind.
Yeah.
Like you,
how can I explain it?
like if someone says it's up to me, and I say the wrong thing, then I feel like I didn't choose the right answer, at which point it also just kind of feels like it wasn't actually up to me, even if it was. But then not having that definitive answer of like, oh, will they be like, or were they upset at the response, is also the question of like, is that also the wrong choice? So it's like a lose scenario. I'm like, I want to know what the other person wants more. I want to make the right call.
I'd say my way of thinking about it, because of thinking of it up to you, is I think of more in terms of absolute value, in terms of if me being there for sure is what makes them happier, if they for sure appreciate me being there, or I feel like we're never gonna have more fun there.
Yeah, but at the time I didn't. But at the time I didn't know if that was the case.
Yeah, and when it comes to up to you, it feels like if it puts into question whether me being there is going to add value in terms of enjoyment. And so I'm still like, why gamble it? Just if you're gonna go there and enjoy the event yourself anyway, and it's not guarantee that I'm going to have good enjoyment, then why I probably just shouldn't accept. And that's the thing that goes in my mind. I have been trying to be more straightforward by
Okay.
just saying yes and taking up people on offers, because I realized helping people by accepting help, you help people by accepting help, and that can make another person happy.
Okay, I have a question
what
at
I've
the end of all
tried
this. Snowy?
To do.
Snowy?
But by taking up people on their offers, it makes them feel happier because, in a way, they also feel useful.
See, Snowy, I have a question at the end of all this here. Would you have preferred I had come with you to Anthroponic?
In hindsight, probably.
I see. Is that because I am good at the convention job?
And Hallie's also not like the greatest handler.
If I were to give
I
Hallie,
don't know how you would do either, but you have more chances to practice around that sort of stuff.
I feel like I've also proven myself as a better handler. No.
Yeah, so it's because I've only worn the head like twice, so it's hard to say.
Oh yeah, I was asking because I was also questioning, like, was there a right call to have me? But if it's only in hindsight that you can answer this, then my answer is no, there was no right answer.
Well, the other problem is that I only get one assistant that literally am not allowed more, so it would just be like,
Do I just buy a
you just
ticket
gotta
to?
sit around until open, and then just sneak you behind the table or something.
Well, I could also like go and look around and sit down in other places too and stuff. And then when you go out to do stuff, that's when I sit behind the table or whatever.
Yep. So you know how we're all like kind of hard of hearing question mark?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Hallie's is even worse than going both of them.
Oh, Hallie's hearing.
It's a very tough person.
Like what did you say? Like I don't know. It's like because I need like very specifics when doing the concept, and I was like the thing.
I see.
Not what I would say the thing, but like the thing that I just said. I'd say
Yeah, I think mine is really a case of like, it's not that my ears are bad, it's that sometimes the words just get a little too slurred for the brain to comprehend. And so I have to ask for confirmation on that end of being like, okay, what was that word? Was that potato? Or was that leave me alone and never come back?
should I just make besides entire sidetrack? Should I just make this the Jack card instead? Because I forgot I have these things to deal with, and I just gotta. It's supposed to be small. Jack is supposed to be small.
Is that it, so? That one's not the ace itself.
Well, no, Ace is big below that.
I don't think it should be a jack then, but I also don't think that whatever you're doing is fitting that card too well.
No, I forgot to like. I need to move space, but I thought I could get away with it. No. I could put them all back underwater. Just sink them.
That is a few too many ships in this blockade here, huh?
like playing some crossbows?
No, I am playing Windrose.
I don't know, I just immediately saw the ship combat and I was immediately thinking install.
Yeah. I mean, now that I've started playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey with Snowy, I'm like, man, Assassin's Creed has come so far that the new Black Flag game might actually be pretty good.
I never noticed it, but I only played 1 and saw 2 before. From like when I was over at cousins and the like. So I guess my thoughts on Assassin's Creed games are still very simple in that regard.
Yeah.
I
think mine on Black Flag were too, but I'm like, it was operating under a very big misconception that not a lot had changed.
Yeah.
But seeing how they're doing the new games, even from like a quest mechanic perspective, I'm like, man, there is so the big mechanic that I am thoroughly enjoying in Odyssey, that I'm also saying I would probably enjoy a lot in like Black Flag, for example, is they, as of Odyssey, apparently tried this new system where you have an option to not have a linear quest. And what that essentially does in practice is if you have the like linear quest turned on, then quest and side quest markers are just always displayed. Right? They're just always there. If you have it off, however, then part of NPC dialogues that just already exist, whether you have it on or off, is supposed to be about like side missions and stuff like that, and like the rumors and whatnot. And so it makes it so that those markers are off, and you have to like actually find and figure out main and side quests and their locations and stuff.
Oh, so it's like a bit of a like I always say hardcore because one of my biggest game growing up obviously is Call of Duty. So when I say hardcore mode, I always think of the hardness mode of that. So when I say hardcore, I say hardness or usually lack of
yeah, like a lasso Halo, like that kind of direction of like you have
cool. I like games that like having a map and such is convenient. I like games that sometimes reward you for exploring and manually noting areas or manually trying to map out areas and stuff. There will always be convenience and people who simply physically find it difficult to map areas. I don't have the fatal imagery to map out an area and to have landmarks and the like and directions in their head. So I accept that maps are sometimes used regardless as an option. But I do like giving the option to sometimes just go completely heartless to try and go completely.
You know what the better way of thinking of this is, Abdul? I will say it as I say I like the fact that you can essentially choose between Skyrim quests or Morrowind quests. Morrowind being they gave you a journal and a map. Beyond that, it's like, I don't fucking know what you want to do. Go do shit. And I like that not only do I like that it is back, as that's a thing you could do, I like that it is a optional mechanic. Why
don't use Skyrim and Morrowind?
Fuck. Do I have 3 pings? Who yelling at me?
Sorry, that's me.
No, it's not. That's the problem.
I did think so.
I saw that. I forgot that he looks like that.
I didn't even know it was Oda. Like, I remember there was a manga that definitely had a fish head as their avatar, just a human with a fish head. and I forgot that was on there. But
Yeah, I forgot that he had that.
yeah, that is essentially the kind of like funny, weird feeling.
Yeah, I could make myself hand pins. I am just lazy and it's like
Oh, true. Because sweaty hands would be absolutely horrible as well. Like you're already going to be sweating on the like helmets, mask, hats, whatever.
like I've done it before where I had like the full suit blazer stuff, but I couldn't do it. In a way, I could have done it. So it's just like maybe one day if I feel up to it, but I'm not anytime soon.
Okay, but yeah, take away the like actual games, Skyrim and Morrowind. I more so just meant how they do their quests.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Just like I said, I haven't played either of them.
Well, yeah, that's why I described it as like Morrowind. It gives you a journal and a map, and that's it. Skyrim, it gives you quest markers for literally everything.
I noticed that when I played Skyrim, I even tried it again, like a few months ago. Immediately, my compass was completely full.
Yeah.
And obviously you could choose what you mark and stuff, but at that point I felt like it already is way too over the top.
It's choice paralysis, for sure. But no, I was saying that I like the fact that Odyssey has that as an option of like you can turn it on or off whenever you want. You can have the more linear like exploration and quests, or you could opt to just like find your own way through. And if they put that in the Black Flag remake, that's where I'm like, oh god damn it, I want to play that though, because that's just, I will always say, Black Flag, best pirate game ever. Second best, rather. Worst Assassin's Creed game of all time by far. But it's a really good pirate game.
Black Flag.
Oh yeah.
Worst Assassin's Creed game.
It is the worst game at being Assassin's Creed. Yes, it is terrible at its job.
I guess as an assassin.
Yeah, it fails in like every. I counted, Abdul. There are like 13. So there are 13 main missions in the original Assassin's Creed. Right? 2.5 of them you play as either an assassin or a Templar. Not and or, just or. 2.5 out of 13 quests do you actually fund a assassin-based plot in a game called Assassin's Creed. It is also known for having some of the worst goddamn stealth quests of all time. Because whoever designed those quests and said, yeah, you should stealth, but in a boat that takes 20 minutes to either slow down or speed up, they were a fucking unhinged lunatic.
What is this? Is this better? Like I actually have to re-clean the stage, like so, but
yeah, it's a lot better.
it's better subversion.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I will always hold that like grudge, Abdul. Assassin's Creed, Black Flag should not have had the title Assassin's Creed tied to it. I'm actually slowly starting to think this about Odyssey too.
It's really not. There is no assassination. You're just doing mercenary work.
Yeah,
we are a mercenary.
Yeah, I know. You're just doing mercenary stuff.
I think Odyssey and Valhalla, where they can be great, like other games in their own run, people think as assassin stealth games.
Yeah.
Where they are, if you were to have a kind of scale between Sam Fisher's Splinter Cell and Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, to like Devil May Cry, they would be closer to Devil May Cry than they are Splinter Cell.
Yeah, weirdly enough, yes.
I guess Splinter Cell, but
No, I'm saying I agree, yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's also
no,
where
I-
I'm like, man, it was a really good pirate game. The story was almost perfect. It fell apart at one point for sure. But if you take out every mention of assassins and just made it a pirate story, it would have like nothing but gameplay flaws. And that's it. And that is to say, it definitely had its gameplay flaws because people were like so pining off of like the wind mechanics and like actually having to slow turn your ship and whatnot, and like be broadsiding the enemy properly. I want to remind people that there is a boss fight, a mandatory boss fight in that game, that when you are at maximum scale, like being good and on like maximum armor and hull, like your ship is built or whatever, and you are on normal difficulty, that boss fight takes a minimum of 20 fucking minutes. Minimum. That's terrible pacing.
yeah.
What on Facebook?
The free stuff Facebook.
Uh-huh.
It's very nice looking shirts and like, but it's also, as you can tell from the picture, very cool.
I see. Alright, I apparently don't have the crew boarding stuff set up for this thing.
That's like the kind of stuff you have from pets. If you want to like go and feed them like they are like an adult human kind of thing, and you give them like funny actual clothes to wear, or you give them an actual pet and things.
Oh, did you post this somewhere?
No way.
I see.
That's funny.
You know, it really doesn't help that I left my phone in her room so I could let it charge.
You wanna bring it over?
I need to use the washroom, so I'll grab it.
You gotta stop looking at it.
Yeah, I will in a moment. I'm letting myself cheese this fight anyway because I am struggling enough to be at 3 out of 9 on a fucking boarding.
So next. I got it. It's atmosphere. Yeah. Yeah, I'd also be like an $800 other kid. That's what we. I really should just make like a giant map that was just this water texture instead of like doing this 10,000 times. How you know it's molded to permanent for fire. Every time you see this water texture guy, that's who's behind. There's no artist pack neat overlays here.
I don't do kind of apps and streamline processes when I really should.
Well, for me, it's every single time. It just doesn't work with my art style, so I just have to draw it. Mostly as far as I really like realistic stuff so you can get away with it. If I were to use piece of meat to overlay this, it's a publish for me. Like the whole thing is that you use like a really marbled meat and like the distribution of the fat among the seafoam.
This is what people are super upset about. That's their major concern.
I don't like that.
Oh, you were outside, you don't make the guess for that one?
Oh yeah, you gotta guess
Yeah.
which major problem this is.
Okay. Out of 10, how quotation marks woke is their rating?
Negative world.
Is the original? Yeah, no, I would agree. Negative woke.
So the issue people have with
No, I'm not. Okay, I'm not saying what the issue is. The question to you, Abdul, is what do you think people are upset about with Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake?
with the remake, yes, and I'm trying to guess. Yes, and I'm trying to guess, but I am trying to at least get hints on to get into the direction of it. So I'm trying to. My question was the issue that people have with the new remake. Has it something to do with what was like something in their words?
Kind of. No one has directly said this is woke, but they have pointed to other things like it that are considered woke.
Okay. Is it character specific?
Yes.
By character specific, I mean like, is it about characters in general? But now my question is it individual specific?
Yes.
I assume the removal of Desmond's missions.
Desmond didn't have missions in 4 originally, so no. I'm gonna send in No Mike what their issue is.
Okay, before I check, it's nothing to do with Desmond.
No, it can't have anything to do with Desmond. Desmond was not in Black Flag.
I assume romance. I I think the issue in the remake is something to do with romance. Fucking hell.
Kind of say you're on the right track, I guess. Yeah, that's their issue with it. Is that they made her cleavage less noticeable. Like, all right, really, you fucking perv. What?
It is on the realm of vocals that people are complaining about.
Yeah. It's like that, and then they're complaining that you also apparently can't get drunk. But there's been no proof of this.
I'm not saying that. That's one of the weird things that the game would remove. Well, I mean, I could see why they remove it, like in a way, but it wouldn't make sense if they're sticking to everything else the game's about. That's so sad. That is very sad. Like, just sad enough to complain about that. It reminds me of other people complaining about Aloy.
Yeah, someone else is also complaining, be like, "Oh, they removed all the assassin stuff. It's only pirates fight with 2 swords now." And I'm like, but they showed off the blow dart and rope dagger that were from the original being used in the remake.
Oh yeah, I saw the issue with the animal stuff, which was again a very bad issue.
No, but the wait, what? Sorry, say again.
I remember people complaining about being able, like, you get penalized for killing animals at the moment, but you don't get penalized when killing humans. Yeah, that was an issue they had, and I'm sure that's something that is, especially considering the context of the game itself.
In Black Flag, penalized for killing animals?
Yes.
In the recent?
Yes, that's an issue people are better, like I know someone brought up in the remake, which I'm aware is a thing in the original, but some people they don't like to point that out.
And I guess, but you were only really penalized for killing an animal that was like part of a farmer's farm. Like, you weren't penalized for killing a shark out in the wild. You were penalized for killing a rabbit that's some dude out. That's not the same at all. I just don't like seeing a ton of misinformation spread when it's also not even like the developers per se that are bad with Ubisoft. It really is just their publishing and marketing team.
Yeah.
Developers constantly keep putting their fucking heart and soul into everything Ubisoft actually puts out. Problem is, it's Ubisoft putting it out.
I agree with Ubisoft in terms of development and for creative team. It's amazing because just look at their concept artists and you see that they make some of the most amazing kind of concepts for environments, for character concepts. Thing like when it comes to creatively building a game from the ground up. They have it all on lock. It's again, if the direction of the game or like the weird features put into it, it can only be done by those higher up echelons, the higher echelons that just put profit focused features in the game and then just ship the game away from its original kind of base. And that is always the issue. Because the Division has always been, and I say, one of the best examples of urban focused environments. And in general, like Ubisoft has always been the most leading edge front pioneers when it comes to literally like scanning real life environments and putting it into the actual games. They've been amazing, but I always criticize the direction and features they put into it, or the fact that bugs and the like are being sent half-assed, not to any detriment of the devs themselves.
When did it become 9:30?
That's a good question.
I don't know, but I'm still stuck here at 4 to 9 victims. Yep.
That's it.
I didn't sneeze, but thank you, I guess.
It wasn't a sneeze.
No, it
It's
wasn't.
not a sneeze.
No, it was me in panic mode.
Yeah.
Nope. Come on, I'm almost at 5 and a 9. The problem is I can't lose because I am actually able to then just turn around and take out the other idiot that's right there. Of the Royal James is at 1 HP, and he's the quest I was working on today. But that means I have to win this boarding match. Nope. Oh, they killed Truffles a little too fast. Sorry, Gary. I like the lore implications that this boarding raid was just this long of a stalemate. Went on for hours. No one tried to shoot any cannons or anything. Oh, Gary fell in the water is why he's not. I see. God damn it, Gary.
To say no.
Hang on. Holy fuck. Gary, did you fall in the water immediately after I did that? Like, what happened to you? You dead? Looks like it. Means I got like 2 hits off on the enemy. All because I didn't bring ammo. There's only one ship to sink after this, though. I guess there's the idea of, because I have, like, the food left a little bit, and out, can jump across. I can still get like a hit off while I wait for Gary to respawn. I just need to also immediately block and then jump back. Yep. Okay, Gary got his dude down to half. Before dying. That's at least somewhat honorable.
I noticed that half the Mola cards have like the same Mola rotated.
Uh-huh.
This run so consistent. That's exactly how that way.
It's not down to science.
See, I need you to be right here so I can fucking pull this goddamn Gary trigger and watch him come and shove at least one of you off. Instant free kill. Hey! I can't shoot you. Don't shoot back. Cheating. Almost there. Get him, Gary! Get him! Get him off! No! No, he got one dude, like, off of the side and he can't get back on. But he's not falling into the water is the problem. And Gary fell into the water, like, immediately after, too, so, you know. That captain just got put back on their ship! God damn it! Back to my ship, please! Get some health and then see if Gary can't shove them off. Okay, we're still at 5 out of 9 and it's 10 o'clock, please. Go through 3 more people after this? Oh my god. Warren, you're so close to dead. There's 6! Did that guy just fall in after me? He did! There's 7! Ow. Is that 8? It is! At that point, there is one of you left who has low HP. I must simply get to them, and I can turn in the quest and be done. Yes! We did it!
What?
We have one more to take out, but we're not boarding it. For you, my sweet prince, I shall simply say, good night. Eat my fucking bullets. God damn it. Stink, damn you! Oh no! There has been one vital flaw. I have to defeat the other 2 level 15s. Fuck. It did so good! I even found a strat to kill them if I can't normally. I know how to make them just jump off their boat in droves. Literally in this case. It's the, if I go to a specific spot, they keep trying to attack me. But with the coming with the trying to attack territory, also comes the they just kind of accidentally falling off their own ship because they're swinging a sword violently on the edge of it territory.
The rage baited trap.
Yeah. Except it's AI that I learned I could rage bait somehow. Can you imagine if that was the end to like iRobot? Where like usually that's how they learn they have sentience is they rage bait a robot real quick. But I'm like, what if that was the solution to getting a robot to like off itself? You just rage bait it so hard.
That is a common enough solution. With many shows and the like, you simply just overload it with processing arguments.
Oh, I guess, yeah. I guess, yeah. Is overloading like rage baiting the same way though?
No, it's not the overloading of rate tracing. Rate tracing is overloading.
I see. Okay.
It's a form of overloading someone with either emotion or information, depending on the method. Much like those other methods do the same.
Oh, that's not good. There's a new warship in play. No! This means I can't finish the quest tonight. Oh, I ended her stream.
What's that, what Jason?
Man. Oh, cliffhanger this story for myself and just sail towards the smugglers. Alright, yeah, we're leaving here. I will probably find someone to raid at the very least, but other than that, it is going to be end of stream. Let's see. We got 2 people that it's suggesting a raid. No on the first auto. I can do the second. Alright. So, big. Name. Go to my own Twitch. Chat and slash raid. Alright. Until then, I hope everyone else has fun. I hope you all rest well. I hope you all be safe. And of course, as absolutely always, stay ghoulish, my friend.